capsule.
Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into the story of Noel Stolen. Now, this isn't your typical hero's journey. Nope. This is a story forged in the fire of betrayal, all driven by a cold, calculating ambition.
So, in a world where strength is literally everything, how does a guy with the weakest class imaginable climb his way to the top? Well, that's the story we're unpacking today. This is the tale of a relentless climb to power, and we're starting right at the beginning with Volume 1.
All right, so let's set the scene. We've got a young Noel Stolen, and man, does he have some massive shoes to fill. See, his grandfather was a legendary seeker. Think of them as elite warriors. This guy was so feared they called him Overdeath, and all Noel wants is to be just like him.
But, fate has a pretty twisted sense of humor. When it's Noel's turn to get his class assessment, what does he get? Not a mighty warrior, that's for sure. He gets Talker, basically a support class that's supposed to just hang back and buff allies. In a world that's all about power, he's just been branded as weak. You can imagine how tough that is for a kid with his dreams.
His grandfather, though, he sees right through that label. He sees the potential. So he trains Noel relentlessly, but not as a talker. Oh no. He trains him as a fighter. He drills one core belief into him. Your class doesn't make you strong. Your will does.
And that lesson, well, it gets hammered home by absolute tragedy. A massive monster horde, they call it an abyss, just descends and wipes out their entire town. And to save Noel, his grandfather makes the ultimate sacrifice. He fights the Beast Lord all by himself. And with his very last breath, he gives Noel one final command. Become the strongest seeker who ever lived. No pressure, right?
Okay, let's jump forward 2 years. Noel's in the capital. He's doing his best to honor that promise. He's joined up with a seeker party, Blue Beyond, and he's actually climbing the ranks. Things are looking up. But the whole foundation of his new life is about to come crashing down.
His trust is just completely shattered. Two of his own teammates, Lloyd and Tanya, they straight up betray him. They steal the party's entire fortune. We're talking over 16 million fillion, all to cover their gambling debts, and then, poof, they're gone.
So Noel is left with absolutely nothing. And this is where we see a switch flip. He makes a cold, calculated choice. Forget the law, that's too slow. Justice, that's a luxury he can't afford. So where does he turn? The criminal underworld. He goes and strikes a deal with a notorious mob boss who runs the slave trade, a guy named Finocchio Barzini. And Noel doesn't waste any time. He hunts down those traitors, and there is zero hesitation, no remorse. He takes down his so-called friends and sells them into slavery. Just like that. It's such an act of cold vengeance that his last teammate just quits in disgust. And now, Noel is completely, utterly alone.
This right here, this is the turning point. Betrayed, abandoned, any idealism Noel had is dead and buried. And what's left is this cold, sharp resolve. He will become the strongest. And he will crush anyone, and I mean anyone, who gets in his way.
So, he's on his own. He needs a new team. But this time, no friends. He needs allies bound by skill, not sentiment. He starts looking for someone with a legendary bloodline, someone just as sharp and maybe just as broken as he is.
And he finds her, Alma Judicali. She's a deadly scout, the successor to a legendary assassin. And get this, in a wild twist of fate, her grandfather actually fought Noel's grandfather. So yeah, she's pretty intrigued by the grandson of the only guy to ever beat her ancestor.
Their first job together seems like a cakewalk, just a simple bandit cleanup for a local mayor. Easy money, right? Wrong. They realize pretty quick they've walked straight into a trap. This isn't some small-time raid, it's a whole army, led by a seriously cruel B-rank criminal.
But against all odds, Noel and Alma just decimate the bandits. Job done. But the betrayal? Oh, it's not over. The mayor then tries to poison them to get out of paying. Big mistake. Noel is, of course, one step ahead. He doesn't just survive, he delivers his own brand of brutal punishment. He takes all the mayor's money and, yeah, he takes his eye, too.
You can bet an act like that has consequences. The now one-eyed mayor runs straight to his powerful creditor for help, which puts a massive target right on Noel's back. And who's this creditor? None other than the unhinged and sadistic mob boss, Albert Gambino.
And let me tell you, Albert Gambino is not your typical mob boss. This guy is a deranged sociopath who just lives for cruelty. He doesn't see this as some business problem. To him, it's the perfect excuse to just unleash some violence.
So to deal with Noel, Albert sends his prized possession, an enslaved master swordsman from the Far East, a man named Koga. Bound to his master, Koga gets one single, deadly order: kill Noel Stolen. Somehow, Noel survives the attack. But does he run? Nope. Instead, he decides to go on the offensive. He actually vows to completely dismantle the entire Gambino family. And his plan? It's just brilliant. He disappears for a week, digs up Albert's darkest secrets, and then comes back to spring the perfect trap.
All right, the trap is set. Noel engineers this final showdown. And this isn't just about survival anymore. This is about control. The stage is set for a violent, dramatic power shift in the entire criminal underworld.
And his plan works perfectly. Noel publicly exposes Albert's big secret. He's an illegitimate heir who actually murdered the old boss to grab power. And just like that, in an instant, the Gambino family's loyalty completely shatters. They all turn on their leader.
Backed into a corner, Albert declares a proxy duel. He forces his slave, Koga, to fight for him. So now the stakes are crystal clear. It's the master swordsman versus the supposedly weak talker, and the fate of the entire crime family is on the line.
But then Noel shocks everyone. He's not using buffs, he's not using tricks, he uses that secret, deadly hand-to-hand combat style his grandfather drilled into him for years and years. And in that moment, the weak talker reveals he's actually a master fighter.
So with Albert taken care of, Noel takes his reward money, and what does he do? He buys Koga's slave contract and sets him free. Humbled, grateful, the master swordsman pledges his unwavering loyalty to Noel. And just like that, Noel has the first true member of his new clan.
And that, my friends, is where Volume 1 wraps up. So Noel's got his scout and his vanguard, but the strongest clan in the world? It needs more pieces. The story ends with him visiting a prison looking to recruit a death row inmate known only as the Puppeteer. So what happens next? Well, you'll have to find out in our explainer on Volume 2.
Plot capsule.